guys, Tebo2 here, back for another TEAB'S Doctor Who mod feature showcase. In this episode we're going to be starting the planets, and in this case we're going to do Skaro. So Skaro obviously can be accessed through the TARDIS dimension panel as such. Let's get right into it. Obviously once you land you can go right outside. So when you arrive on Skaro it will look something like this. You can see it's just this grey, monochrome, dull landscape, populated by creatures such as Thals, and of course, Daleks. And yeah, this place is honestly quite depressing and scary. So yeah, the ground is made of petrified grass. Everything pretty much is petrified. Turned stone, petrified log, petrified leaves. Now petrified logs you can turn into various planks and various other things. So let's just try and find those. There we go. Petrified dirt, logs, planks, stairs, and we even have a door, which actually is a pretty cool design. We have our fences and everything else. Now, as you can see, immediately we have Daleks attacking the Thals. And so, yeah, basically, these are your passive mobs for the dimension, and they have it pretty dang rough. They have basically everything against them, from Daleks to the various other wildlife, which we'll get to here in a moment. So, for example, we have this Slither here. They're kind of big, they're kind of slow, but they are kind of powerful as well, and they will of course go after players and Thals. And look at that, their walking animation's really creepy. These are the Varga plants. These were seen in Mission to the Unknown, and are basically, again, a plant that is native to Skaro, has all these thorns, and as you can see, when we get close to it, we do get poisoned. And so yeah, you don't want to touch these. They are kind of dangerous in that regard, and they obviously can move, and they're going to move toward you and chase you. So yeah, it's not like a cactus where you can avoid it. Yeah, you need to get away from these things. Forgot to say, this is the petrified rose, which is the native flower of Skaro, and I think it looks pretty cool. These don't, I believe, drop when you break them, so you will need Silk Touch in order to get them. Now this is the hand mine, which is a pretty common hostile mob. This will chase after you, it's pretty fast, and when it touches you, it'll actually pull you underground. Not very far underground, but enough to where, you know, if you're not paying attention, these guys can be a little bit deadly. You can see this. Now this is actually a block, not a mob. This is the petrified Magnodon. This was seen in a dead planet, and basically it's just this extinct, fossilized creature, which looks like this. So this is the block that was causing all the explosions. This is the landmine. So yeah, this is kind of based on like Genesis of the Daleks, where Skaro is basically just like a big war zone, and we had like landmines and traps all over the place. But yeah, if we step on this, it explodes. You need to watch where you step on Skaro, basically. There are these landmines pretty dang common, and hand mines, and landmines, and Daleks, and Varga plants, and these guys as well, the mutant clams, which, again, are pretty slow, but pretty powerful. So you do need to be careful of them. So yeah. And as you can see, if you don't know where you're going, yeah, you could run into a hand mine. So yeah, there's a lot of things to watch out for in Skaro, but I haven't even gone over the main one yet, which is actually the radiation. So if I were to go to survival right now, I would immediately start dying, because there's actually radiation on Skaro. And yeah, basically anything that's not acclimated to the atmosphere of Skaro will immediately start dying on this planet. So check this out. I am dying of radiation poisoning right now. So yeah, how do we survive the radiation poisoning? Well, there's two different ways we could do that. In past updates of the mod, you used to be able to use the spacesuit to survive, but I believe this normal spacesuit no longer works for that purpose. You're going to need the reinforced spacesuit in order to survive on here. Now, the reinforced spacesuit, we can go over it in its own episode, but it's basically just this, but you craft it with an armor piece, and it'll give you a reinforced spacesuit. And as you can see, once we put on a reinforced spacesuit, once we have the whole thing on, we get this anti-radiation effect, and this will protect us from the radiation on Skaro, just like so. So yeah, the reinforced spacesuit is what you're going to need in order to survive, and obviously it's rather useful because it does have armor points as well, which is obviously very useful. Now the best way to survive on Skaro is actually with radiation pills, because that will apply the effect to you and allow you to then wear whatever other armor you want, like if you wanted diamond armor, netherite, whatever you wanted that's a bit stronger against the Daleks. So one way to get radiation pills is actually by bartering with Thals, and you're going to need a Dalekanium ingot for this. You can see he'll follow us when we hold it, and if we right click him, he will give us a random item. So you can see that time he gave us a laser charge. That time, some dirt. You can see petrified rose. You can see that. You basically just keep going until you get a radiation pill. You can see that time I got a gun stick. That's very useful. But you can see their loot table isn't too complex. Just various things mostly related to Skaro other than the leather and the apple. So you do want to keep going. There you go, finally. So yeah, finally they gave us some radiation pills. We can take these radiation pills and just eat one like so. And that will give us 10 minutes of anti-radiation too. So now moving on to the structures on Skaro. This is the Dalek City, which is easily the biggest and most interesting structure on the planet. You can see this is going to have various spawners all around it of Daleks. Now inside, obviously, it's going to be even more concentrated, and there are even more spawners, and there's like 2 per room sometimes. There are these food machines, and here's our treasure. It's held in shulker boxes. So we open this and check it out. We have an absolute ton of diamonds. We have a lot of laser charges, a lot of iron, and even some Dalekanium, and even gun sticks and suckers, which is very useful. Exploring further, we have things like these Capaldi lights. And this is kind of the Emperor's room. We have the Emperor guards, and we have more loot, which is kind of the same loot table as such. And yeah, there's a lot more to explore in this Dalek City. I'm just going to look there. I'm not going to go down this hall yet. But yeah, I'll leave that up for you to explore. But yeah, this is kind of the Dalek City, as I said. So yeah, pretty cool structure. And already we found another structure. This is the Skaro Bunker, as seen in Genesis of the Daleks. Doors over here. And yeah, it looks pretty cool. And yeah, we can just walk in through the door just like so. And in here we have our Khalids, which are actually hostile mobs. We have our Khalid scientists, which are actually passive. And we have Davros, of course. Now Davros is actually a mini-boss in the mod. And he is going to attack you with melee. And if you kill him, I'll show you what you get. You get these DNA samples, which are actually used in humanizing Daleks, which I will show in a later episode. So yeah, this is the bunker. You can see this is our kind of science room, our laboratory, which is where Davros was spawned. Over here, we have kind of a prison area with some thals in there. A mutant incubation chamber. If we open this and go inside, we have a spawner for Dalek mutants, which is pretty cool. And of course this has its own loot. You get landmines, you get celery, you get rotten flesh, you get some Dalekanium control panels, and you get some Dalekanium scraps and some rotten flesh. And then over here finally, we have our Dalek production room. And in here we have a spawn egg for these Mark III travel machines, which are kind of the prototypical Daleks that don't have a gun stick. And they will attack you with melee. And they are generally not the strongest Daleks in the world. But yeah, just a neat little challenge. And you do have this shulker box here with the same loot table. So our next structure is this rather small Dalek outpost, which is fairly common on Skaro. You can see the doors are actually activated by the Dalekanium control panels, which do take a Dalek sucker in order to activate. You can see if we walk in, we actually have a Dalek spawner here. And there is actually one on the other side too. So there are 2 spawners to take out, but there are also in here 2 chests that you can get loot from. So over here we have some celery, some rotten flesh, and a Dalek sucker. And in our other chest, which should be over here, we have basically the same stuff, but we have a gun stick as well. So the loot in here is not anywhere near as good. And by the way, this is not Dalekanium, this is weak Dalekanium, which you cannot craft into ingots. And yeah, we do have some TARDIS components in here, which is honestly pretty cool. We have a monitor, and we have another monitor. And our final structure here is this thal encampment. So you can see we got a campfire. We generally get 3 thals in the general area. We get a nice little bit of wood, and we get our tent right here, which is pretty basic, has a little sleeping bag right here, and then right here we have our chest, which generally will contain radiation pills, leather armor. It will have some coal, some apples, and sometimes a stone hoe, and sometimes even a Dalekanium scrap a bit more rarely. But your big thing to look for here is the radiation pills, which are obviously essential to survival on Skaro. And the final structure on Skaro is actually going to be found at set coordinates. It is at 1000, 1000, and you're just going to want to look up, just like this, and this is our Time War Dalek Emperor's flagship. This is actually our boss fight for Skaro, and you can see you gotta kind of build up to this or use your TARDIS to get up here. And if we break in, we get this advancement. We meet at last, where we meet the Dalek Emperor and check him out.
The earth with fire, the planet will become our temple, and we shall ride all Daleks.
So as you can see, bro's pretty loud, but he looks pretty dang awesome as well. And he has various stages to fighting him, which I will go over in its own video. But for the moment, this is what I'm going to show you, just that this is our boss fight for Skaro, the Dalek Emperor. He will spawn Daleks and generally be pretty dang intimidating. So yeah, there we go. So yeah, this has been my showcase of Skaro and TEAB'S Doctor Who mod. I hope you all enjoyed, and I hope you all are more informed on all the dangers you'll have to face here. That's all there really is to it. I've been Tebo2. Be sure to subscribe, to follow my Instagram, Tebo2at, to follow my Twitter, which is also Tebo2at, to join my Discord, and lastly, to have a nice day. Goodbye.